Hello and welcome to the third episode of the Meta Makes series. Today I'm taking a look at my one of my most popular works, the Deltarune King Me mix, which is a remix I did of Checker Dance and Rude Buster. And big shout outs to DJ Cutman for featuring this on the Game Chops channel and actually doing a little bit of remastering on that version. The mix that you're going to hear here is just a little bit different, mostly because my mixing skills are kind of sometimes. So yeah, this is a little bit different, but for the most part, it's still kind of the same thing. So, getting down into the nitty gritty, the history behind this song is actually kind of interesting. So, I want to say it was almost a year ago, the Pixel Mixers group was doing an album for independent video games, and it was volume 2. And Deltarune had just gotten released right around that time. Um, Actually, I stayed up all night waiting for whatever link Toby Fox was going to post on the Undertale Twitter. And I played that as soon as it came out, and I fell in love with it. And immediately after I played it, I just wanted to do something with the music in the game. So I started working on what originally was just going to be a Checker Dance cover. But then I didn't know what to do with the ending, and I figured, as the ending went on, it actually kind of segues pretty good into Rude Buster. And I'll get into that in a little bit, but for now, let's just start off with the beginning of the song and take it piece by piece. So, when I started making this, I wanted to do something a little more laid back with it because original Checker Dance is a banger. It's like some Samba de Amigo level shit. And it's pretty fast paced, it's pretty intense. And I thought, okay, let's just dial it back a little bit, see what we can do with it from there. And that's why it sounds the way it does. That percussion was actually pretty easy to do considering how many parts there are to it. Um, let's see, there's a drum kit I got a while ago called the Survival Drum Kit. It was released for free, or they were giving it away at the time, and there's a lot of really good, just little bits and pieces in there, like different kick snares, different little percussion things. And if I can find the pattern, we can hear it individually. And honestly, just all those little parts on top of just bass drum, and a snare, they work really well together, as you can hear. So yeah, that ended up working out pretty well. And then let's get into the main nitty gritty. So, if you are pretty big on your late 80s, early 90s music, or you just like decent music in general, you'll kind of notice that the beginning part of this track is heavily inspired by New Jack Swing. And if you're not familiar with New Jack Swing, it was pretty much how every R&B song sounded at the beginning of the 90s, like Tony Tony Tony, Belle Biv DeVoe, anything that was produced by Ted Riley or Shep Pettibone. Like, it's all kind of the samey sound, but honestly, it's not too bad. Some of it's pretty good. But that's kind of what the first part was heavily inspired by. Hence the reason you got the orchestral hits here. Because let me tell you, those were extremely popular in New Jack Swing. Those are like one of the trademark sounds of New Jack Swing. Alright, let's keep it going here with the rest of the song. Alright, so, oh, excuse me. Actually, I want to talk about the vocals a little bit because normally I am not big on singing at all. I've always kind of hated singing in front of people or doing anything like that. So, actually, including vocals was kind of a big deal for me personally, just because it was something I never really wanted to do or thought about doing, but it ended up working out. So, if we just take it little bit by little bit, and then all you really have to do is just record the other note, pretty much same style, then hope to God they sound good together. Which in that case, thankfully they do. However, I was a little dissatisfied with this third one that I did in one take and just kind of called good. Normally because it's not exactly on pitch and it just annoys me personally, but when you combine it with the rest of it, it actually is okay. Like that actually works and I'm completely okay with that. And then coming up right here, we actually have a little bit of trumpet playing, which the trumpet's my major instrument in college, but right now I'm not in college, so I'm taking a small sabbatical. So when I played this, my chops were in real bad shape, and you can really hear that with my playing. It's kind of soupy if you're a brass player and you listen for that kind of thing. Also, I would just like to say that I'm thrilled with the way that turned out, considering the fact that the room that I recorded everything in is probably like 12 feet by 20 feet and is packed full of just random junk because that's just what my room looks like at the moment. So I'm actually very, very impressed with how that came out, and a lot of that is thanks to Edison, if I can find it. I know I loaded it up somewhere in here. If I can't find it, it's not that big of a deal. But Edison is the default thing in FL Studio that you can record sounds to. And they have a feature in there that lets you get rid of certain audio artifacts. So, like room noise or ambient noise in the background, you can highlight it and get a profile of the noise. And then you can actually clean up the audio and it'll get rid of those little background hisses and all that stuff. So if you listen real closely in the background of this, you might be able to hear a little bit of it remaining. Yeah, that hiss was originally like 10 times louder than what it is there. So this actually sounds pretty good for what it was recorded with. And I also use a Blue Yeti microphone that my roommate gave to me because he didn't like it very much. But honestly, it's his loss because this thing is working terrific for me. So if we put that all together, you've got a pretty decent song. And a dank solo. That was the soupy trumpet playing I was talking about, and also I've got a cut mute in there. I had to record this at a pretty inconvenient time of day for me, mostly because I've got two other dudes I live with, and I don't want to annoy them with the sound, so using the mute there, while it was kind of a design choice, it was mostly just to make sure my roommates didn't come knocking on my door trying to murder me. Then let's see here. Then once we get past the solo, we're still kind of doing the same thing. Although if you hear in the background, I actually added in the small little chime. Sorry about that, wrong button. Because that wasn't in this beginning part over here. And I didn't talk about the bass, so let's listen to that for a second. Now, a couple people I talked to thought that was Seinfeld bass. I wish it was Seinfeld bass, but I can't find a good enough plugin that sounds enough like Seinfeld bass. So I settled with HyperCanvas, which, fun fact, is the same program that was used for a couple of arrangements in Super Smash Bros. Melee. I'll get into that in a second because there's some cool stuff there. But yeah, this is called HyperCanvas, and all it really is just kind of decent sounding general MIDI, which is why I really like that slap bass, because that kind of reminds me of like Roland MT32 point and click adventure games, that sort of thing. And I think it's just kind of a nice aesthetic, especially if you're going for kind of a new jack swing thing. Like I said, everything kind of fits together stylistically a little bit. Alright, so for the second half of the song here, the only thing that really makes it unique are the key changes. And fun fact, those vocal samples are the same ones from earlier, just slightly higher pitched because I didn't feel like re-recording them. And then eventually we get to the final key of the checker dance portion of the song. And then that's the same key Rude Buster is in, and at that point I was like, hey, you know what? I could just straight up go into Rude Buster after this. Now, originally, what was going to happen was I had a couple. Here, let's see if I can find them, because I know I put them somewhere. I had a couple envelopes. Looks like I deleted them, but originally the second part wasn't going to be swung, and it was going to go into like a super fast Rude Buster with the same instrumentation and everything. But I decided I didn't want to play that real fast on a trumpet, so I just decided to keep the second part swung as well. So here we go with the transition into a Rude Buster. Alright, this is what I wanted to talk about, and this is what I'm excited about. So this piano preset here, piano number 3, if you go ahead and give it 100% chorus and just a tiny little bit of reverb, then you get this, which sounds pretty good. Now, I don't have an example set up, so give me 2 seconds to whip up something, and then you'll see where I'm going with this. So when I heard this preset in HyperCanvas for the piano, I noticed it sounded a lot similar to something else I've heard. So I went ahead and I found a MIDI of the song that I was thinking of, changed the instrumentation around, and lo and behold, this Piano 3 preset from HyperCanvas is the very same used in the Target song from Super Smash Bros. Melee. I mean, if that doesn't get you hyped, I don't know what will. This blew my freaking mind when I found this out. So yeah, a lot of the stuff in HyperCanvas they actually used in Melee back in the day. This is a pretty old plugin itself. So yeah, I just thought that was a little interesting fact to share. Now back to the regular video. But yeah, that's pretty cool. So then, if we keep going with the song, we still are kind of coming into Rude Buster, so let's just keep that going. And like I said earlier with the soupy trumpet playing, this is where it really, really shows, because hitting high notes has never been my personal strong point, just because I just have never been that great at it. So you can kind of hear the note squeaking a little bit at the end. See, you can hear how rough those chops are. That's what happens when you don't practice consistently. Sorry, Dr. Schuler. But let's see here. So, once that is done, then the second half of this song kind of goes for, I'm not going to call it a clav solo. Actually, what it is this really interesting sound font that I cannot remember the name off the top of my head. Let me see if I can find it. It's RFMV 1.7. I can't remember the full name right off the top of my head, but I'll put a thing here so you can see it. And it's full of all sorts of different sound banks for like Genesis sounds, PC Engine sounds, Nintendo sounds, and it's really nice. And the nice thing about using the sound font player is you can go ahead and put in all of the let's see here, like the slides to different notes. You can go ahead and just put that in the MIDI data for FL Studio, which is really handy. So I don't have to mess around with automation clips with the actual software and whatnot. And if you listen to it on its own, you can hear what I mean. And what's really nice about this instrument itself is it has vibrato added to the end of it. Like, it just does that automatically, so I don't have to worry about changing that parameter at all. So that sound just comes naturally, which is really nice, because then when you put it all together, you actually have a pretty dope section. But yeah, that's pretty much the majority of the song. I mean, I did everything that I wanted to do with it, and I think it turned out really great. It's something I'm really proud of, and I'm glad that I was able to share it with you. Now, I actually have a surprise announcement to make, and this is something that a lot of people have been asking for. So I am proud to announce that this song is going to be released today on Spotify and other online platforms like YouTube Music, Google Play, Apple Music. So hopefully, if everything goes right, which it should be showing up there. So yeah, expect that later today, hopefully. It should be around 6 o'clock Mountain Time, so I'm not sure what time that's going to be for the rest of the world, but it is coming out today. So, yeah. Alright. Well, thank you for watching the video, and I will see you in the next episode.